Now, the last part that we were talking about in this page, when the children were running away from the Comanches at night, and Mr. Grimes helped them when he planned for them to go in a direction, and they will run and he will go in another direction, so the Comanches will follow Mr. Grimes and the horses, and the children will be able and will have a chance to run away from the Comanches at night. And also at night it's not easy for the Comanches to see their footprints or their tracks on the ground. But now what will happen to them in the daylight when the sun will rise in the middle of the sky? Let's continue here. I'm tired, Billy stopped suddenly. I think we've gone far enough. Francis frowned. When Francis had first met Billy, the boy wouldn't say a word, and now he'd gone from never talking at all to complaining. If they catch us, they'll skin you, warned Lottie. Now, keep walking. If we don't keep moving, they'll be on us like dogs. Won't they, Francis? On us just like dogs. So here Billy, because he is a little boy, he got very tired from walking all this distance without stopping, and because it's really hot and it's the weather is very hot, so he got tired and he started complaining. Now here it says that when Francis met Billy for the first time, Billy was not talking or saying anything. You can describe his character that he is quiet and he is not talkative at all, but now he's complaining, and of course we will not blame him why he's complaining, because he's tired, he's a little boy. But Lottie answered him and told him that if they will catch us, they will skin you, or they will skin us, which means that they will kill us. The Comanches, if the Comanches will follow them and catch them, they will be dead. Okay, so that's why she encouraged them to keep moving and walking without stopping. And here she said, if we don't keep moving, they'll. Who's they? What's the antecedent of the pronoun they? The Comanches. They'll be on us like dogs, which means that they will follow us like dogs. And here we have figurative language, which is simile, when the writer compared they, the Comanches, with dogs using like. So here it's a simile. So here she's encouraging them to keep moving, even they were so tired. And here you can see from their faces in this illustration how much they are tired and exhausted. Okay, now Lottie loved to talk, would talk all the time if she had the chance, seemed to have been talking since Francis had found her in that wagon. So Lottie is talkative, unlike Billy. Billy is not talkative and he's a quiet boy. Just he complained because he's tired. But Lottie is a talkative girl, and she didn't stop talking since Francis found her in the wagon. Lottie would explain every little detail of every little part of every little thing she was talking about, so that not a single aspect of it was missed. So here Lottie likes to talk about anything, and when she starts talking, she will not stop. And Lottie, by the way, when she talks about something, she talks about every single detail in this thing, and she won't miss anything in the topic. And she sometimes drove Francis over the edge. This is an idiom, and it means that she makes him feel crazy. She drove him insane because she's talking a lot and she didn't stop talking even they are facing bad situation. Now, as Billy started moving again, Francis picked up the pace, pushed them as hard as they could stand it, and then harder. And Lottie didn't have breath left to speak. So Francis pushed him, which means he encouraged them to keep moving and walking harder and faster to escape as much as they can far away from the Comanches. So Lottie, because she's walking very fast, she can't talk anymore, because she can't walk fast, very fast and quickly, and talk in the same time. So she doesn't have any breath to keep talking. So here Francis is a smart boy. He found a way to let her stop talking all the time. Dawn brought the sun, and the sun brought heat. Francis and the children were bareheaded, and the sun quickly went to work on them. So here, when the sun rose in the sky, the heat increased in the weather, and they were bareheaded, which means nothing to cover their heads. And the sun quickly went to work in them, which means it becomes very, very hot. Billy wanted to complain, especially as the morning progressed and there was no water and the sun rose higher and became hotter. But Francis drove them until Billy began to weave. So Billy wanted to keep complaining. He's very tired. He's a little boy. The sun became hotter. And the heat also rose a lot. So he tried to push them to keep walking until Billy began to weave, which means to wobble. He couldn't walk anymore. Then Francis picked Billy up and carried him biggie pack. So he carried him this way on his back because he wants him to keep walking and he couldn't. So here it shows how much Francis is responsible and he is in charge about these children and he is caring. He didn't leave the boy alone, or he didn't push him to keep walking, and he knows that Billy can't walk anymore. So he picked him up, he shouldered him on his back. Mile after mile, then yard after yard, and finally step after step. So they kept walking and moving despite the hard situation. No water with them, no food, very hard weather, very hot. They feel dizzy, they feel thirsty, but they have to keep moving and walking to run away from the Comanches and to keep themselves safe. So here in these 2 pages we have two figurative language. Here we have simile. When the writer described the Comanches like dogs, they'll be on us like dogs. And here we have idiom. When the writer described Lottie that she drove Francis over the edge, which means that she makes him feel crazy because she is talking too much and she didn't stop talking. And also here in these 2 pages the writer described the characters of the 2 boys. Billy is quiet and he's not talkative, he just complained. And Lottie is talkative and she didn't stop talking when she got the chance to talk, and she talks about every single detail in about the topic that she's talking about. Okay, now after this walking, let's see what will happen to them in the daylight under the heat of the sun. And we can see the reflection of the heat on their faces, how their faces are very red, and it seems that they are exhausted, they are tired, they are thirsty, they are bareheaded, nothing to cover their heads. Okay, now Lottie saw it first. There, she said, see the spot. Francis was near dead with exhaustion. He had hardly slept at all for the 2 nights before and had been used roughly by the Comanches in the bargain. He was close to the breaking point as he said, "What spot?" "There, no more to the right, on the horizon. It's trees. I'm sure of it, a stand of trees." Now Lottie saw it first. So what? She said, "There, see the spot." She was pointing to the front. What did she see? Now Francis was dead with exhaustion, which means that he was very, very tired. He's about to die because he's tired. Why he's tired? First of all, the Comanches made him tired in the bargain, in the trade that they made. They were trying to sell him for money when they kidnapped him, and they let him work very hard as a slave. So he got tired, and beside he was when he escaped from the Comanches, and he met Lottie and Billy, and they started walking in the desert to run away from the Comanches. Also, he was tired, and he didn't sleep for 2 nights. So all of these hard situation that he was facing made him feel very tired, and he was about to collapse to the breaking point, which means that he was about to collapse. Now he was asking what spot when she was pointing to the forward. She told him right to the right, no straight, no to the right. On the horizon, it's tree. She saw a stand of trees, which means she saw a group of trees. Stand here, it's a collective noun, which means group of trees. They had seen many mirages, images of trees and water that were not there. But Francis looked where she was pointing and saw it instantly. He stopped and set Billy down. The boy was asleep, and he collapsed in a heap, still sleeping. "You're right, trees, and trees mean water." So he was so happy. He said that in the beginning, maybe it's mirages, false visions, when you imagine something in front of you and it's not correct, especially in the desert under the heat. But when he looked where she was pointing, he saw it. He saw a group of trees. And because he wanted to concentrate, he lay Billy on the ground, and Billy was asleep, was tired, and he was sit on the ground like a pile, like a heap, like a pile of something. And he was looking where she was pointing, and he said, "Yes, right, trees." And trees mean water, because when the tree grow up, it means that there is water. He turned and studied the horizon, which means that he looked and surveyed the horizon, which means forward. He hadn't been able to look up when carrying Billy, and he was shocked now to see a plume of dust off to the west and south. It was at least 15 miles away, against some hills in the distance. It was so far away that it seemed tiny, but Francis knew it was probably caused by riders. Many riders. Now, when Francis looked forward where Lottie was pointing at the trees, he saw something else. He saw a plume of dust. And he was thinking that this plume of dust seemed tiny, which means it's far away from them. But this dust could be caused by riders. And what do we mean here by riders? Of course, the Comanches. Plume of dust, which means column of dust. It's like a column, like a beam, okay? So, they saw two things in front of them. They saw a stand of trees, and they saw a plume of dust. Now, when they saw the trees, let's say a little bit give them hope that they can find water. But when they saw the dust, it gives them something, a bad let's say gesture, or a bad point that the Comanches is very close to them. So something give them positive point and something give them negative point. But what they are going to do now, are they going to run away far from the dust and the trees, or they are going to continue their way forward? Lottie saw him staring, looking. Could it be buffalo? She watched the dust. A small herd? Now, Lottie noticed the dust now, and she told him, could it be buffalo? Because sometimes there are wild animals live in the desert like buffalo. And when the buffalo run, they can make a little bit dust around them. So when she saw the dust, she said, could it be buffalo? When she was looking at him, staring at the dust. A small herd, a herd of buffalo, a group of buffalo. Not here, Francis thought. Now he was thinking, he didn't say anything. Not here in this dust and heat with no grass and no water. Buffalo wouldn't be that stupid. So he was thinking that the buffalo, the herd of buffalo, wouldn't come here because buffalo needs grass and water, and there is no grass, no water. So it's impossible for the buffalo to be here. But what did he say? Sure, it's buffalo. He wants to assure her that it's buffalo because he didn't want her to feel scared. You are lying, she sighed. I can tell when you are lying to me, Francis Tucket. It's them, isn't it? But because Lottie also is smart, she told Tucket that you are lying to me. It's not buffalo, it's them. Who's them? The Comanches. Francis said nothing. He didn't reply. He didn't say anything to her, but his mind was racing. What does it mean? He was thinking very quickly about everything, about the boy that he's tired, about them all, about the Comanches that they are very close to them, about the heat, about the hot weather, about not having water, about everything. So the riders were heading back eastward, but why would they be coming back so soon? Had they caught Grimes already? If so, they'd be looking for the children. Or had they given up the chase or just seen Grimes and found that he was alone and turned back, still looking for the children? They might miss the tracks. So here Francis was thinking about the riders, the Comanches, why they came back very soon. Did they caught Grime and they found that he's alone without the children? Did they notice that Grime is alone without the children, so they came back? Or did they miss the track after Grime, so they came back to look for the children in different way? So he was thinking about all these things, but even though because he's responsible, I'm sure he is going to continue his way to protect himself and the children. He knew this was a vain hope, a useless hope. What was the useless hope? That maybe they are going to be safe from the Comanches or not. It's not that much sure that they are going to be safe. There hadn't been a breath of wind to blow the dust over the brush marks he'd left. So he was sure that because it's very hot, there is no air, no wind, nothing will brush their tracks, nothing will erase their footprints. So which means that the marks that he did with the branch or with the stick the last night, it will be clear on the ground in the daylight because there is no wind, no air to brush it out or to erase it. So he was sure that there is no hope to be safe because the Comanches, when they come back, they will see the tracks on the ground after the children that they were trying to erase by the stick, but the marks by the stick will be clear for the Comanches. And undoubtedly they had men who were good trackers, men who were alive because they could track mice over rocks. So the Comanches would find them and then. So inside himself he was sure that the Comanches had very good trackers who can find any track on the ground, on a rock, or on everything. So he was sure that because there is no wind, no air, nothing will brush their tracks, nothing will keep them safe. So he was sure that the Comanches will find them sooner or later and they will not be safe. But what will happen to the children? Are they going to reach to the trees before the Comanches come and hide between the trees? Or the Comanches will reach to them before they reach to the trees? Or what will happen to them? Or they are going to be safe in a different way? Or are they going to be caught? Let's see in the next page. Thank you.